I'd like to open up the Tuesday, June 3rd, 2025 meeting of the Steamship Authority Port Council. I'll read a couple of opening statements and then call the roll. I'd like to inform everyone that Sean Driscoll, the authority's communications director, is making an audio and video recording of today's meeting. If there's anyone else making an audio recording of today's meeting, if so, please identify yourself. If you're joining virtually, please press the raise your hand icon on the Zoom dashboard, or if you're joining by telephone, press *9 on your keyboard. And when you are recognized, please state your name for the record. Anyone else making a recording?
Louisa
Hofstadter, Vineyard Gazette Journalism Foundation.
Thank you. That's all I've got.
Okay.
Another one.
Oh. Jason?
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Jason Graziadei, Nantucket Current.
Thank you.
Going once. Yes. And then the standard opening statement pursuant to section 20 of chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021 as amended. Port Council members are participating remotely in today's meeting because their physical attendance today would be unreasonably difficult. All Port Council members in attendance and all members participating in the meeting by the Zoom video conferencing app will be clearly audible to each other. As a result of members' remote participation in this meeting and all votes taken by the members today shall be by roll call vote. And with that, I will call the roll. Greg?
Here.
Rob?
Good morning. Here.
John Cahill?
John Cahill here.
And Joe?
Yeah.
And I think Mr. DeWicki has a conflict and we're waiting on Mr. Lowell, I believe. Is that right?
Correct.
All right, first item is the approval of the minutes of the May 15th joint meeting in public session held in New Bedford. If there are any questions or comments on the draft minutes?
No. None.
Hearing none, I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the minutes of May 15th, 2025 Port Council meeting.
Second.
Thanks, Joe. All in favor, Greg?
Aye.
Rob?
Aye. Neither aye.
John?
Cahill, aye.
And Joe?
Joe Salito, aye.
Thank you. On to the management report and the updates on current projects.
All right, so you reminded me, so I apologize at the joint meeting of the board and Port Council. I meant to thank the Nantucket Harbor executive office there for hosting us, and I appreciate you guys making the space available for us.
So of course, yeah, no, we're happy to host whenever. We love showing the place off, especially when it becomes to our season like this. So hopefully people enjoyed a little bit of New Bedford after the meeting.
All right, and then I guess to start off here, we'll mention who's in the room here with us. So we have Mark Rosem and Sean Driscoll, Terrence Keneally, Mark Amundson, Zach Lawrence, Allison Fletcher, James Kennefick, Stephen Coleman, Bridget Sullivan as staff members, Robert Jones, the Barnstable board member, is present, as is Miles Reese, Abby Hour, and Robert Hour. Correct. Yes. So first up is an update on the progress for the MV Aquinnah and the Monomoy. So Zach and Mark will lead us through that.
Morning, everyone. Morning. So the Aquinnah, after commissioning, returned back to our Fairhaven repair facility. We're currently working on the USCG 835 work list. We have our USCG inspection and sea trial scheduled for June 9th, and we're anticipating an in-service date of June 18th.
You wanna go to the Monomoy then?
Yep.
Okay. All right, share.
And while you're doing that, thank everyone for those of you who were able to attend the commissioning ceremony on the 16th. It was well attended.
So the MV Monomoy, is still down at Alabama Shipyard. They're, finishing up, hull blasting. And what we can't see from this picture here, the two forward tunnels for the bow thruster, have been coated, as they have now finished installing, the forward and aft bow thruster, gearboxes. This is a photo of the stern ramp, installation that's now been coated. So here we have the forward bow thruster and the stern thruster. The angle drives have been reinstalled, and the tunnels have been coated ahead of that installation. Here we have a picture of the stern of the vessel. We have the two sections, port and starboard, that were in way of the keel coolers that was found needed to be cropped and renewed. So while that steel was out, we found some cooling piping that was heavily corroded. So we did some blasting. Pipe wasn't in any state that needed to be renewed. So we did some coating preservation to preserve them. Then in the center, you can see we have the section of the skeg removed, as we have the new skeg extension, which is being built in the shop, and it will be installed in that place. On the bridge, the bridge console is now in. Wires are starting to be rerouted, and electronics are starting to slowly go back in. Here we have just one of the starboard stack extension installation, which is moving along and starting to near completion. So for our current milestones for the Monomoy, we're looking at a vessel undocking of August 15th. The stability test scheduled for the 20th of August. Sea trial to be determined. And the reason for our vessel undocking date is due to the dredge wheeler that's currently on the dry dock at Alabama Shipyard. So that has to come off before we can get off. And for a quick financial snapshot, presently payments made to date, we're at 70.4 million. Outstanding commitments and allowances were at 6.2. And our current estimate is $80.2 million for the entire project, Aquinnah, Barnstable, and Monomoy. Any questions?
My question is the areas around the keel cooler that needed maintenance, was that on the previous vessels as well?
It was not.
So that was.
That was found due to a UT survey.
Mhm. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
yeah, what's a skeg? Is it SKEG?
Yes.
What's that, if I may ask?
So it's a piece of the stern of the boat, and it helps with steerage.
Okay.
So it's kind of like a keel.
All right, okay. Thank you.
fixed.
Yes, sir.
All right, other questions on the project updates?
So
Thank you.
the extension of the skeg on the Monomoy is that was not done on the Barnstable or the Aquinnah. This was following feedback from the crews in terms of maneuverability. So we're doing that as based off some of the feedback that we've received on the performance of the Barnstable to help with the maneuverability. So.
All right. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Nick.
Thank you.
Just want to add one thing to that is on the skeg extension that has to do with low speed maneuverability. The vessels, we believe that this is a conversion that the previous owner had done on other vessels to give lower speed, better trackability of the vessel.
Do you see in the future at some point doing the same to the first two.
Well, the good thing is we're gonna get some time under our belt before the next docking. Part of the package is we have some options for the skegs to be prefabricated
Mhm.
and installed, but we wanna see the performance actually of the Monomoy.
For their benefit, yeah.
What was the value of the additional work for the skeg extension and the maintenance on the fuel coolers piping?
I believe the skeg extension was 90,000 and the prefab costing, part of it is, this is an owner, part of, unused, steel allowances in there. And and what was the plate issue on the costing in 90,000?
It
One
was,
side, 70,000 on the other. It's 3/4 inch plate. And having the coolers out at this was a maintenance issue that we wanted to get behind us right now, because Alabama Shipyard is fantastic steel yard. We felt we could have deferred it, but at this point, we wanted to get this done and out of the way.
Any other material differences between this ship and the others?
No,
Thanks.
All right. Next on the management report is the SOMS update.
All right, next up is an update on the Woodsell Terminal project. All right, so, to begin with, for the terminal building, next slide. You'll see that the tongue and groove roof decking is starting to be installed. They're starting on, from the south side of the building, on the terminal building. So they already have all the glulam beams are in place for the building. Next. They're working on the interior, preformed interior framing is going on as well at the terminal building. Next. So along the south side of the building, they're working on the installing the rebar and the wall forms for that area. Just to the south of the building is a walkway that matches up with the crosswalk that goes to the in between the two slip 1 and slip 2. Next. There's some insulation that need to be done on the pipings and the connections there. Next. Here's the utility building. So the exterior stonework is ongoing. The south and the east sides of the stonework is nearly complete on the building. Next. They're installing the window framing. This is these views are on the west and northwest facing side of the building. Next. The interior walls on the ground floor are complete, and the interior sheetrock on the second floor, they continue to install that. Next. And then they're working on the mechanical, the electrical, the plumbing, and the fire protection up on the second floor of the utility building. Next. And again, just some of the prefab work that's being done. Next. And then up in the employee lot, or what we refer to as the employee lot, they have the mock-ups of what the siding and the textures are going to be, and how it, there's some copper cladding that is involved as well. So there's a full mock-up there just so that way the engineers can look to see, make sure that there's the proper drainage weeping holes or whatever to in case any moisture is behind. Next. So at this point, the project is approximately 45% complete. We have $580,000 in change orders, which amounts to 1.8%. Let's see. I can read it from here. So it's 800,000 has been spent so far. And we have another 20 million, 20.5 million in commitments. So with that, happy to answer any questions. I should point out that there's been 278 emails that we've sent out thus far about the projects. This includes the water side as well as the shore side projects.
Great, thanks, Bob. Questions on the Woods Hole Terminal project? Council? Rob?
I guess that's just as Rob have a question?
Yeah.
Okay, so.
Yeah, obviously, there's been a lot of discussion about traffic. And I guess my question is, you know, how much of the traffic that is being experienced right now, backups, you know, up Woods Hole Road, is it, you know, how much is that just normal conditions when things are busy? How much is related to the construction causing it or contributing to it? And is there anything to do with new traffic patterns or the location of the building or anything like that? What do you attribute it, the traffic issue, to?
Well, previous week we had the storm, we had cancellations, and we will admit we got overwhelmed by the number of people that were coming down that following morning, which was causing a traffic backup. The staff there, along with Allison, and they were able to get the police details there on site to be able to assist in the keeping the traffic moving as much as possible. There is some certain times where it seems that, as always, the traffic all arrives in bunches, and you know, we have with the schedule, the drawbridge impacts some of that as well, in terms of starting to back up, but it is also, you know, part of, you know, in terms of us trying to get people in as quickly as possible. So the terminal, Allison and the terminal, they're looking for additional hires, so that way we can be able to help keeping the traffic moving. As it pointed out at the joint meeting, that we've been trying to make much we can do to try to improve the safety of the passengers and that are walking the site. There's still some work that we're working on to get that a little safer condition. The golf cart that we have on order is due in a week, so that'll help assist people who have mobility challenges to make it from the terminal to the vessel or vice versa. So those are all things that we continue to do. We will, you know, we're looking to what other measures we need to be doing in terms of trying to move that line along as much as possible, whether it's the use of the back booth or not. We're also working on developing you know, procedures in case we do have trip cancellations like we had a week or so ago, 10 days ago, on how we can hopefully manage the situation a little bit better. But we're working with the police details in that regard as well.
Okay, I guess I guess it's not clear, you know, that we know exactly what the root cause is. It sounds like there's a bunch of contributing factors.
Yeah.
So I don't know what it could be done in order to try to, you know, really truly suss out the particular underlying causes. You know, we have you know, the occasional weather delays and cancellations. That's not an unusual event, happens, you know, periodically. And I guess I don't recall this being a typical outcome of that. Anyhow, it seems like there's maybe some more work to be done to fully understand and try to address it.
Well, in regards to that Friday with the storm, yes, we've had cancellations that much before, but unfortunately with the current construction plan, the terminal had cars in every possible location. And it was the fact that it was about 10 trips, I believe, or more that were canceled. So getting them all down to the property, and luckily most of them were showing up at different times. And we did put out messaging for those with reservations to show up only 45 minutes ahead of time. Don't show up an hour too early. People were getting those messages out, but we are, Mark and I, working on a plan on what we can do if this happens again, to potentially pre-stage at different locations. Have them all go to that location and then come down in waves as we need them on the property. But the terminal, I mean, the folks in Woods Hole, they didn't stop. They were amazing down there, and the customers were actually very kind and considerate considering what was going on, so.
Good. No, I'm not doubting at all how hard people are working. But thanks for that.
Great. Thanks, Robert. Other questions? Hearing none. Thanks, Bob.
Okay. So next, Bridget Sullivan will provide us with an update on the SQMS project, or it's not a project, you know, it's a way of life now, so.
It is indeed. Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Excellent. All right, so earlier this year, starting on April 10th through the 14th, we completed our annual internal audit with the support of our third-party auditor, Roger Leach. And we covered several shoreside locations, and essentially the design of the audit was to reflect that of our upcoming surveillance ISO audit and to include safety management as well. So we covered every vessel that was also in operation at this time. And it's also important to note, as you look at the findings, it is not a reflection necessarily of the same locations. It's actually a reflection of the Hyannis area. Last year, we did mostly the Falmouth area in Mashpee, and this year it was slightly different. Next slide, please. So, oops. Oh, yeah, the other one. Sorry, Sean.
Other presentation?
No, the next slide, there you are. Sorry, my bad. So our internal audit did identify 12 findings, and with respect to time, I'll just go over the major nonconformities. First, it was identified that we are doing corrective actions, but outside the formal system. The formal system typically requires documentation of both corrective actions and the verification of effectiveness to be logged. So essentially, we have a logging mechanism for all of our event reports. So when the incidents come in, we are tracking those and we are sharing that information with the respective department heads. But we need to now strengthen our capabilities when it comes to recording what was done after those incidents were identified. And the second, identified a gap within the learning management system. It was identified that a number of personnel have open training requirements, some of which date back to 2020. And so essentially, employees have a year to complete the trainings within the LMS. And during the audit, it was just identified that we still have some incomplete trainings. So we do have the opportunity to take a deep dive into how our learning management system works and to ensure that we capture all of those trainings and make sure everything gets closed out in a timely fashion. And I would like to add these 12 findings. We did just receive the audit report a week ago. So our team is yet to actually take that step to determine root cause and implement any corrective changes at this time. Next slide, please. And this is what it looks like year over year. And again, this internal audit was more focused on the Hyannis area, Hyannis maintenance, the terminals. And last year it was the Falmouth area. In addition to that, in 2023, we had a different team doing our internal audit. And in 2024 and 2025, we've been working with Mr. Roger Leak again. And so this is essentially just what the breakdown looks like. Next slide, please. And today actually was supposed to kick off or be the second day of our safety management audit for the Barnstable, but unfortunately RENA had to cancel. And so we'll be doing our RENA safety management SMC audit on the 16th and 17th of June for our document of compliance and the interim of the MV Barnstable. And then moving forward into August, we will be having our surveillance audit for ISO with our recognized organization. Next slide, please. Any questions?
Questions from the council?
No, just a comment. It's painful but good work. This is and it's good that I think the transparency of the numbers And I think the deeper you dive, the more you find. So I just would recommend to keep doing it. And I think it'll be good over the longer period of time as you kind of collect the data to see trends. Obviously, at this point, it's really too soon to essentially identify trends, but the data is really valuable. So good stuff. Thank you.
Great. Other thoughts or questions?
I'd just say that it was good to see that relative to the safety issues that they're being done, but the documentation is difficult to follow up on, and that's not an uncommon thing. And but it's good to see that those items are being addressed.
Right, the work's being done, the paperwork is
Yes,
lacking, right? Yeah.
exactly.
Terrific. Thank you, Richard.
Yeah.
That's it, huh?
All right, so next, we want to provide everyone with an update on our recent Spring Training and Development Expo. Yeah,
Nope.
Yes, so me again. Back on March 31st, we had our 2-week fair, Training and Development Expo. This marked our 6th, formerly the Safety Fair, then it became the Training and Development Fair, and now hopefully we will stick with Training and Development Expo. And as that kind of leads into my next comment, our fair has grown exponentially. Expo has grown exponentially since its infancy when my predecessor was leading the efforts, and now we have transitioned into different ownership of the fair, Expo. And in addition, we have more of a full-scale management participation when it comes to identifying training, providing the training. We have a director of security. We've had our team from the procurement group also hosting trainings. And we also have myself and Janice bringing in third-party trainers to help facilitate the trainings. And so this year we had actually a total of 19. It had been 20, but it was identified that our Family Medical Leave Act was actually canceled, so it was actually 19, not 20. And regardless of which, this was still our largest ever. And I would like to also honorably mention our communications team for their participation in creating these great banners. So this Invest, Educate, Elevate is actually truly from them, and it helps get the motivation and enthusiasm throughout our entire network of employees to attend and participate with the Expo. Next slide, please. This is a snapshot of the training and development offerings that were offered this past Expo, which include the breakdown of basically who managed what. Some of our offerings are typically year-over-year, oil spill, OSHA 10, so on and so forth, customer service. And as you can see, we have additional ones like bloodborne pathogens, procurement, tags, some of these that are based on department heads identifying a need within their departments and then executing the training in one way or another. So it really goes to show you that this really is a huge participation at management level as much as it is by the employees participating. Next slide, please. So here we have the data for the Expo year over year. And as we looked at these numbers, we did notice a dip in the Spring Expo. This could be a number of contributing factors from have we trained the majority of our employees on, let's say, OSHA 10, and now we need to look into other trainings that we need to cover different gaps? Could it be that a lot of employees took vacation times around this time, so there was a bigger dip? Could it be that bringing on 2 new vessels and training more people on those specific needs resulted in a gap? So we still haven't really looked at the data to determine if this is truly an outlier or if there's something more that we have to look into to get those numbers to go back up. So don't look at that as alarming as of yet. We're still looking into what that actually means. Just a number of considerations we really have to do a deep dive into. Next slide, please. Oops. That is the next slide. So we did do a survey, and unfortunately our survey also took a bit of a dip this year. I will say though, this is actually really great feedback because the 7 participants in this survey, they actually participated in 4 of the 5 days of the week, which is really what we want. we don't really want people to come in and just do one class. We want them to come in and get the benefit of the entire week, or at least several days throughout the course of the week. But this too also shows that we have an opportunity to take a deep dive into how we do our survey. Maybe we need to get more people from the management team to help facilitate at the end of each of the classes, so on and so forth. So obviously, this isn't exactly what we want, but it is still good feedback and gives us the opportunity for growth in the next Expo. Any questions?
Right, quality, not quantity, right? Survey responses are hard, but I think it's interesting that they're all from the vessel side though, not from the management side or anything like that. How long was the survey open?
So it's open for the whole 2 weeks. Traditionally, it's been given as a QR code, so it's kind of left there, and if they're not, we're still in the need to hold people's hands and bring them and lead them there. But typically, I think it's also part of our cultural change because people usually want to take surveys if they have something to complain about. So you could also see it that way.
It's a societal. Yes.
So, but it's open throughout the full 2 weeks, and then I believe it's open even after. But it's more, I think one of our challenges is how do we make sure that everybody's aware of where it is? But then we it depends on how we do it and how we want it to function, because if we leave it, say, if people are being trained in this room and we leave it readily available for people in this room, that's fantastic because they get to take it. If we publish it on our crew change page or one of our internal web browsers, we might get more data from people who either didn't take it, didn't want to take, or didn't want to participate. I don't want to say that nobody wants to participate, but we can also get different outlying information there that could impact our data. So typically how we've done it is we've made it available to the participants when they're participating. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah. No, it's so much effort and so much work, and it looks like really quality stuff. Being able to get that feedback though after the fact, so you can really measure, what it was like for those people that went through it, is just really important. I don't know what the mechanism is, whether it's open longer or management put their thumb on the scale to get people to respond. Because I think
Do it before lunch, Gordon.
maybe, yeah, right, exactly, right. Just because I think, it's clearly a great and substantive program. It would be really helpful to find out, and it may or may not inform that sort of potentially anomaly dip that you saw in 2025. So surveys are hard.
It's been something that, the staff has taken up during the staff meetings on how can we improve that process, and whether it's at the end of each session, allow 5 minutes and provide, a laptop for people to be able to do it right then and there, while it's fresh in their mind. Some of the people that are participating in this program, they don't readily have access to computers while working.
That's a good point, yeah.
As well, so, to be able to assist them in that regard, but, I think the efforts that, Bridget and the rest of the team makes on these, expos is, to be commended, and,
I agree.
there's, if you start looking back at the courses that have been offered, it changes from expo to expo depending upon our needs. For instance, the bloodborne pathogen.
That one jumped out at me too, yeah.
Training was something that was critical, and then, unfortunately, active shooter was something that we needed to be able to provide. So we, so it's conducted by not only in-house staff, but we do bring in vendors to be able to provide some of this training as well. So.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but necessary for sure. So, other questions? Training? Oh, Rob, sorry.
Yeah, I saw the survey respondents were vessel crew, but what was the participation by vessel crew in the training over the course of the week in terms of either numbers or percentages?
So technically, or not technically, typically our Joe Russis, our OCC manager, does a great job organizing so that we get 15 vessel people per week. I don't know if we met that target or we're a little less than that target, but I would arguably say we had at least 30 people for the course of both weeks from vessels.
Great, thanks. I'm sort of doing my best Eric DeWicki imitation about making sure that we have the vessel's crew feel included in all of these types of things, and is a positive.
And as Bridget pointed out, we did have a number of the vessel employees that were previously assigned for training, whether it was on the Barnstable while it was operating, or we did have a number of employees that were sent down to Mobile in preparation to have the Aquinnah make its journey up. So it was a challenging time to be able to make sure we had representatives at each, at all those opportunities. So.
Yep. Well, thanks. Another good program.
Excellent, great. Anything else from the council? All right.
I'd just like to add that we had 15 additional crew members as part of what Bob was alluding to, the positioning voyage going up. So that kind of took all of our, let's call it our reserve out of the fleet, which probably affected that number.
Great. Thanks, Bridget.
Thank you.
All right, next is update on the reservation system replacement project. So Mark and Stephen's got to pipe in as well. But
So Mark and we'll take care of this real quickly. Since the last meeting, joint Port Council and board meeting, the group's been finishing the reference reviews for the vendors, for the finalists, as well as conducting the follow-up questions with the vendors. We anticipate regrouping on Friday to re-review all this information with references before we make a recommendation. But besides the actual RFR, there's a lot of other underlying parts to this project that we're continuously working on concurrent paths. So one of it's the infrastructure assessment. So to make sure that we have this IT platform, you have to have the network accessibility to all your locations to handle it. What equipment's needed, whether it's cabling, whether it's PCs, whatever it may be. So we're looking at that, finishing up that review. Stephen and his team is working on that. We're continuing with our IT governance, specifically resource allocations as this project comes up, whether it's nuts and bolts, physical infrastructure, wiring, training, whatever it may be, making sure we have the right people at the right places at the right times and prioritizing what things need to be done. The group also has last week, and I'll have Mark follow up on this, had a couple truckers meetings on the two islands as well as the mainland, getting feedback from the truckers on our new bulk reservation system and as far as what updates and upgrades we want to do. And additionally, we're looking at policy reviews as well as training for what not only to the specific to the reservation system, the new one we're going to implement, but also this underlying IT skill sets that we need as we're a lot of these systems are exporting data to a CSV or Excel or a table, making sure that once we get this data, we have people who are able to filter it, use it, and leverage it to its maximum capacity. So that'll be a key part of next fall's training and development fair, making sure we have the underlying skill sets to use these systems. So I'll turn it over to Mark to talk about the last week's stuff.
Yeah, we had a nice attendance last week. We had shippers meeting on Martha's Vineyard last Thursday. And in Palmer on later in that day and Friday in Nantucket. I think the meetings were well attended by the trucking community. And in that we went over the various details of the new reservation system. I think there was a great interest from the trucking community because that's going to be their a key tool in the toolbox for making future reservations. We discussed the needs for, length and weight for the vessels of new inputs that we're going to need for the reservation system, rules for loads, trip manifests, the lottery. Again, a lot of good questions. The trucking community has a great interest in this because they need to be able to have a good working platform for putting their reservations in. And very glad to see some of the people here today are in attendance that were at the meetings. And thank you very much for attending.
And as far as the policies, procedures, and following up what Rob mentioned about Eric's concern about the vessel employees, specific things we're going to be talking about is You know, where do they want to see the physical ticket hardware scanning? What do their manifest is maybe look at different than what the terminal agent on the land side's manifest wants to be? How do they want to see what the format of the ticket when they're collecting it? What's the easiest way to look at it? What's the easiest way to look on the phone? Making sure they're trained how to use this equipment, getting their input, how much lane feet and what the loads on the vessel should be. Where they're not gonna be booking the reservations, but they're going to be the end user of some of these capacities. Again, well, how does it make their job easier and better?
And part of that is also the stability calculations.
Right.
Everything needs to, part of this is voyage pre-planning. We're gonna need to have, for instance, that load scenario all developed before the vessel gets in, so we know that the truck locations will be going in specific locations on the deck. That way we take, it's all in pre-planning it's all part of our SQMS program. You know, it just needs, it's gonna be the next step in how we load vessels and develop our reservation system.
So how far in advance do you need that load information in order to kind of game that out?
We would like to have that probably 30 minutes when the vessel has, for instance, is en route. The master needs to know that because you can't be placing the last truck on board and realizing that it's affecting your draft readings that are part of the stability letter issued by the US Coast Guard. So we need to know that info just in time that we make the right locations. And yeah, there'll be some last minute things as always, but this is about voyage pre-planning.
So generally, the truckers send us their reservation requests for, say, summer of 26, they'll be sending it to us in September. And they'll give us an average weight. So if someone's carrying a liquid, they know the size of the truck and the, you know, physics, and that's pretty accurate. But when you have some of the common carriers, they don't know if the trucks in the box is gonna be water or is it gonna be flip-flops, for example. So they give an estimate, and then, like to Mark's point, as we get closer, we'd like a firmer number than to tighten up the draft.
Yeah, I would have thought that time was much more than 30 minutes, in order to be able to know that. So that's, but I see the line of sight that you have for the, you know, the year ahead kind of thing. So you have general sense, but,
We generally have, you know, like for instance, on our hazardous voyages, we know that we're gonna get, you know, a lot of tank trucks. Those are gonna be 100,000 pounds. They're gonna have specific locations. So a lot of it is fine tuning at the end of the loading scenario. So we have it's all about voyage pre-planning.
other, questions on the, reservation system? Council? Thanks, Mark.
All right, next, just want to give a quick update on the proposed license, request from Offshore Tug and Transportation LLC and Terrence.
Good morning. So as hopefully most of you are aware, we sold the Gayhead in December of last year to Robert B. Hour or Offshore Tug and Transportation. And then several weeks later, we got a request for a license to run that vessel back and forth to the islands from New Bedford. And during that last several months, we've been going back and forth a little bit to try to educate folks on the licensing policy and get a little better sense as to what the service would actually look like. When we got a sufficient amount of information and we had these discussions, we then went out and we published the request publicly in the newspapers, the Cape Cod Times, the New Bedford Standard Times, scheduled a hearing, which is required under the licensing policy, which we did this past Thursday at 4 o'clock. The hearing was relatively well attended. We had about 10 or 12 people on the Zoom, give or take a few. Abby Rose from Robert Hour was there, and she did a great job of answering any questions and putting up with me during the hearing. And, you know, part of the purpose of the hearing really is to give people an opportunity to give some verbal feedback and ask some questions. And we didn't get much, or actually we didn't get any from the Zoom participants, but, you know, I asked a few questions, and a few of my takeaways from the hearing were, you know, there is interest from the town of Nantucket to run this service. They want to the DPW over there on the island wants to, deal with their, I guess, building inventory of recyclables in particularly. The idea is to, load the vessel and, bring it to Robert Hour's facility and, or offshore's facility in Bedford, where it'll be offloaded and then, taken to, facilities on the mainland for apparently recycling. So, one of the other things that we learned was that the Coast Guard hasn't issued their certificate of inspection yet for the vessel. That's really important because again, we can't license a vessel that's not certified. We have to make sure that it's properly insured and so forth. The other element to the current request that we're gonna look into is, they're gonna be bringing, they want to bring aggregate and equipment that they're currently bringing over on barges. So we have to take a look at what, if any, impact the proposed service has on our barge revenue and that aspect of the operation. And then really the other really big component of this is how's it gonna impact the fact that we only have 2 slips in Nantucket, how's it squeeze into the schedule and how we can do that. I think they did a good job of proposing 3 trips, 2 to 3 days a week. And they put forth some times that they, apparently they looked at the schedule and they did a good job of that. And we have to take a look at that and try to figure out a way that we can make that work. I know Elaine and her team out there on Nantucket have done a great job over the years of managing the barge operations that we currently have. So there's a lot of moving parts. And so we have to see how all this works, but the hearing and so forth was really positive. I think we've gotten a lot of positive response. I've talked to Gordon a little bit about it. And so, we're just here to talk about it in general, give Abby and Robert an opportunity to answer any questions that the Port Council might have at this juncture, and then, continue to move the process along and to continue to get feedback. We've encouraged people to send written comments, which I have received, and I think Bob's got a few emails with respect to the service. So again, once we feel that we have compiled everything and we can sit down and really make a informed decision as to how this is gonna work and when, we can do that. But for the time being, I think we want to open the floor up to the Port Council and give them an opportunity to ask any questions that they might have and see where we go from here. So with that, I would turn it back to Gordon and maybe have a dialogue with Abby and Robert if you have some questions about it.
Yeah, I'll start, and just to kind of update the rest of my fellow council members. So Robbie and I have had a few conversations about this, and about their plans. I think everybody knows there's been a longstanding, concern or opposition within the Port of New Bedford about island waste, coming through the Port of New Bedford. There has been a number of public comment at previous licenses, to that effect. And I don't think that has changed the idea that this is recyclables, which have typically also been not looked on favorably. Robbie and I have talked about the manner in which they would do this, fully enclosed vehicles that won't get stored on their site, rolled straight off. I mean, a lot of the thoughtful approaches that he's been have been helpful for me to understand. They're a great port partner and operator in New Bedford. The things that I have said to them about this, though, is, we really need to understand that it's fulfilling a gap or a need that the Steamship Authority can't provide, right? The Steamship Authority's job and is to provide that service from the islands. And wearing 2 hats as port director and port council member, I need to balance those 2 things. So that's really the issue is, what is generating this demand and the need for this additional service. If that's strong and legit, then it certainly helps me in being more flexible on the acceptance of recyclables, understanding that whatever license needs to be very clear about that and about no municipal waste or solid waste or anything along those lines, because that's a non-starter for the Port of New Bedford. So it really is understanding, at least from my perspective, what that sort of market gap is on the transfer of this material. And then as Terry said, sort of the timing and some of those things we would want to, and again, talk to Robbie about this as well, have a close eye on what that system looked like, right? There can't be any backup or storage on site, that sort of thing, if we're going to do this. So that's a little table setting, I think, from the Port of New Bedford's perspective. I think consistent with what we've talked about, right? Just to really understand exactly what we're trying to fill. I know that there have been, before my time, there was RFPs on, freight, and we've done some one-off licenses, I gather, for sort of on-demand types of activity, but nothing scheduled like this. So that's really where what I want to sort of fully understand as we go forward. Enough for me. Anything else? Any comments or questions from the council?
Rob Muni has his hand raised.
Rob?
Yeah, thanks. A couple of questions. The first one is in reading the draft, it's a little unclear to me. There's reference made to Martha's Vineyard, but it's unclear to me whether that's really a part of the target here or if it's strictly Nantucket. So that's my first question.
Yeah, so Rob, that
Question
was,
too, yeah.
so that's a great question. So originally the request came in and there was a discussion or an inquiry as to whether service to Martha's Vineyard would be a part of the license. And then as we went through the dialogue, it became more and more refined in terms of, and Robert Ira can obviously speak to this, or Offshore can speak to this. But they dropped the Martha's Vineyard portion of the license request and focused solely on this kind of targeted approach to Nantucket for the recyclables and so that's what we move forward for, and that's what they felt comfortable asking for the license. So that's why we pivoted. And again, if it's something that works out and the service gets established, again, I know everybody is, there's always a hot button issue with regards to service to New Bedford and trash and recyclables is a hot button issue. Again, we want to do it correctly. We want to make sure we get all the data and all the information together before we make a decision. So again, I think having a more focused approach would probably lead us to a more successful operation than a kind of a let's see what happens kind of approach. So that's what we're operating on. So to your point, yes, there was a request earlier in the process to look at a Martha's Vineyard license, but that was then refined, and now it's just solely for this service to Nantucket.
Okay, so I guess it seems like there needs to be some refinement to the language there, because there still are a couple of references to Martha's Vineyard. A couple other questions. It's a little unclear, maybe I didn't miss it, what the licensing fee would be, and just what kind of revenue that would generate for the steamship, and also whether it's good business for offshore tug and transport. Let me just ask my three questions, and maybe we can get the answers because they're simple. The certificate of inspection from the Coast Guard, I don't know what's the timing on that. Obviously, they were inspected prior to being sold, so it seems like it's a doable thing, but what would be the timing? And then relative to timing is the business case for offshore tug and transport. In other words, we've got an ongoing conversation. Terrence, you've referenced, this being a dialogue that's going to continue. At some point, offshore tug and transport probably needs a decision, and what is their decision time frame to have a good business case? Are they trying to get started by August 1st, September 1st? What's the timing in an ideal case? So those are my related questions. Thanks.
Yeah, great. Yeah, I'll just invite Rob and Abby up to address those questions if they want. And I know some of the answers, but I'd rather hear it from them.
And John Cahill has a question as well. Do you want to just line them all up if we can while they're up here, John?
You're
You're muted, John.
I just want to remind everybody, our friend in Nantucket, Nat Lowell, is not on this call. I didn't know if anybody had an opportunity to present this to him ahead of time, and if they could share Nat's view on this.
Well, I did, I have corresponded with Rob and Nat. I haven't heard from Nat directly. Rob had forwarded me, some comments from the DPW and they are strongly advocating for it. They'd like to move these materials off the island, in an efficient way. And so I think they're obviously involved. Again, but I can't speak for Nat because I haven't heard from him, but, Rob did forward me following the hearing the other day, John. I just got, I think, it was either Friday or yesterday, but the emails kind of run together, but the DPW is definitely, on Nantucket is definitely advocating for this service.
So today, we're not asking for any vote from the Port Council though, right?
Not today, no. I think this is more just an educational, kind of dialogue portion of today's meeting and trying to get any issues out so that we can have the full complement of information so that we can make these decisions as we go forward here. But again, I think the overriding thing right now, and go back to one of Rob's comments, was, I know we need the Coast Guard to have a certificate of inspection for the vessel. Without the vessel, we're not talking about a service. So we need to get that sorted out.
Right.
Yeah, just to underscore what John said, right? So without Nat being here, I mean, certainly want to hear his perspectives. In his role from Nantucket, but also the amount of experience he has and the depth of knowledge about the system and the process and the operations. My head spins each time I hear from him. So we'll definitely want to get his perspective on this at some point.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, Terrence,
Yeah.
you did a really good job. Thank you explaining where we're at today.
Sure.
I would just like to add that, the Robert Allen Company currently does move tens of thousands of tons of aggregate equipment, supplies back and forth to Nantucket on a regular basis now. We feel that this vessel would be another tool for us to be able to continue to do that. It would give us backup and options to keep doing what we're currently doing. If there ends up being a benefit to the DPW, to the town, to waste options, that's great. But we feel the vessel would benefit us to continue our operations as they are as well. If that makes sense.
Sure.
And just to, my name's Abby Rose, for those of you who don't know me, to speak to the COI of the vessel, it's imminent. We've performed all of our training. We've had all our inspections. They were reviewing the last bit of our safety plan. They had some comments. We addressed them. So I'm under the impression that it's extremely imminent. As you know, the Coast Guard doesn't give you a timetable though, so.
I know that. So Robbie, just back on your point about the service that you're currently providing and this, not to put words in your mouth, but you sort of said this will allow you to continue to do that.
It's another tool to continue doing what we're doing now.
But it's not, your continued movement to the islands is not contingent on this return service.
No.
Okay.
Just following up, can you just address the question of timing? In other words, is there a particular timing that you're looking to have, this thing put in place that fits your business objectives?
We don't have a hard time on it, no, to answer your question. We have the flexibility to go through the process and see what makes sense for everybody. The vessel is tied up at our location at 302 Herman Melville. It's not in the way. So, we're gonna continue to work forward through the process here and see what makes sense for everybody, but we haven't put a hard timetable on anything now.
Okay, thank you.
I guess I have just a general question is how is this material being currently moved now? These recyclables? Is this something the steamship is doing?
So typically, the recyclables would be coming off, whether it's on a backload on a vehicle or whether it's a actual reservation that's coming off for that. Part of the our operations, they'll be bringing barges over, so they'll be bringing the aggregate and offloading it off the barges off the face of our pier and shipping it to wherever. So whether it's a construction project, town project or another project, they do bring a significant amount of activity. And as you over the years, you may have seen that, the amount of work that we need to do to keep that, that facility open, because it's the only place on the island to be able to offload.
It's a busy spot.
Yeah.
And is it year round, is the proposal for 12 months?
Yes,
Thank you.
flexible during seasons, Greg, summertime, it's very busy over there, traffic can be tough. The off season might be a time where it's, 3 days a week, and the summer would be as needed, but if we're flexible.
Chair, I have a question.
Yes,
I have an operational concern about usage of our slips. We have right now a number of vessels, our own vessels, which go to both the north and the south slip. If there's a mechanical cancellation or a weather cancellation, we do not have the space as we're utilizing, in particular the summer with the INO and the south slip. And we try to use all the freight in the north slip. A recent, we had the north slip down for some dolphin repairs of recent. We found that it was very difficult in our stern loading only vessels such as Barnstable. And we had to bring the Woods Hole back to Nantucket. And if we have to always keep in mind that we also have tie-ups at nighttime for our vessels leaving in the morning, generally that's the Eagle. So I do have concerns about additional traffic utilizing our slips, and we have to take that into consideration.
yeah, that's exactly the kind of analysis I think we need to understand for the rest of the good working order of the authority.
Right, and again, we've begun that discussion in terms of trying to figure out how to and we have to talk with Mark again. And how whether we can fit this in, and again, like I said, Robbie and Abby have targeted certain or proposed certain times a day, and there's a lot of moving parts, as everybody knows, in a busy small area, relatively small area, I should say.
I think that's important too. Currently we work with Elaine to coordinate and harmonize everything, and these are only proposed arrival and departures. We're flexible in that respect, but really, we want to make it so it's complementary to both of us. Right?
Who charters the trucks, just out of curiosity? Is that a DPW charter that you're just bringing by, or are you chartering the trucks?
Both. Could be both.
Yeah, because if we're gonna have parameters and boundaries on how the stuff gets transported, we're gonna wanna make sure that the truck charter, requires all of those things, as well, so.
The proposal there was that Robert Biao Company would supply all trucking if needed.
Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
Is this gonna be trailer and cab or just trailers or a combination of both?
Trailers and cabs.
Okay, so you're not gonna unhook?
No.
Okay.
I think Mr. Muni has his hand raised.
Yeah, Rob, sorry. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, one more question. This relates to the decision to simplify and just focus on Nantucket. And I guess my question was regards to Martha's Vineyard and whether or not there's consideration, business case, opportunity that might be considered in the future for Martha's Vineyard of a similar nature.
Yes, in my early conversations with Mr. Canali and putting together our first application, we thought it was best if we kind of started with one rather than a broad both island approach. But I think there is interest in going to Martha's Vineyard kind of once we get our feet under us, if you will.
Thank you.
Yeah, John?
Hey, thanks, Gordon. Probably it's more question for Bob. Bob, if we're already providing, or if this firm is already providing this service to Nantucket already, why are we going to pursue a licensing agreement for a limited amount of use?
Well, in terms of it, whether there's an overall benefit to the system in terms of, and that's part of the evaluation, is there a need, what is the need, and is that need being met by the proposed service? You know, it's, the service on the Nantucket route, you know, it's nine trips a day in the summertime, in the peak summertime. It's, you know, one of the reasons why, we're looking at, you know, upgrading the fleet with the Barnstable and Aquinnah and Monomoy, was to be able to, help provide some relief there as well. So, it's something that we need to be looking at. It also depends upon, is this going to be, a service that perhaps opens up the opportunity, the face of the pier as well, in terms of, availability for others. You know, it's not just aggregate that goes over. We have, modular homes that are offloaded off the face of the pier and everything else. So, these are all things that we, as part of this process, we need to be looking at and making a determination as to, you know, the overall need, and how it works with our operation. So, and then, I guess the other piece of it is going to be is, Mr. Muni brought it up, is, the license fees, and we're still reviewing that because, in terms of, you know, traditionally, this type of, you know, any type of service like this, we always used to, we'd base it off of if these vehicles were to be going on Steamship Authority vessels, what would we be charging? And so we need to, you know, take that into account, in terms of what the service would be. So.
I don't know if I really understand, but you know, it just seems that if I had this tug service and DPW called me up and I'm already providing this service in Nantucket, I can do this without an agreement, right?
In terms of, what going
Like,
over.
do I need, if I'm a tug service and I'm providing services to Nantucket, why do I need an agreement, licensing agreement for just DPW?
Well, it's because primarily because, John, they want to use our slips and we only have two. Right now, they go over the bulkhead.
Okay.
And they don't carry any trucks.
And they're carrying trucks and vehicles. So it's a focus on carrying trucks and vehicles, not barges. So it's freight in that regard. So it's a different animal.
Got it.
Again, and the other thing is, and as Bob pointed out, I think one of the benefits and one of the things we have to focus on is how beat up the bulkhead gets in Nantucket. I mean, you probably don't have an opportunity to go over there, but maybe Nat could bring you over for some lunch and you can take a walk down there and take a look at the bulkhead. And it gets pretty active, as Robbie was saying, and it gets beat up quite a bit. And you know, then we have the dredging too from the spillage of aggregate and so forth. So there's a lot of opportunity here to kind of look at it and do an analysis, but there are a lot of things with the Steamship Authority, a lot of variables and a lot of things to consider. But more importantly, as Gordon pointed out, I think the important thing for us is does this benefit the islands? Does this benefit the Steamship Authority? And that's our primary focus. And I think there are some things to it that could possibly be in that realm. So it's a good conversation to have. I think it's something that is a positive, and now we can look at how it's going to impact us.
All right, thank you.
I guess I would just add that a part of an assessment, maybe not so much in this case, but in other like cases, would also be the benefit to the mainland communities.
Right, yeah, I mean, and to that point, you know, Mr. Jones is here, but, you know, we've already talked about, and I even mentioned it with Greg, I think, at the commissioning the other day was, you know, if we can take some, if it has an impact where we could take some trucks out of the poor community here, then all the better. I mean, it's, again, there's a lot of, as you know, Rod, there's a lot of moving parts and a lot of tentacles that we have here on the South Coast and on the islands, so.
Yep, roger that. Thank you.
Right, going once, last comments? Terrific.
So I think at this point, just to, you know, we'll continue to work with offshore to try to you know, fill in the missing pieces, and we'll be you know, at some point coming back to the Port Council and then the board for, with a recommendation as to, license, so.
Thank you guys for your time.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Which that includes my portion of it. I think Mark's up next.
Okay, so we got the business summary for the month of April.
I'm the official mic guy.
Good job, thank you. Okay, so as a reminder, as always, all the traffic statistics are based on one-way traffic. Passengers carried for the month of April, the Vineyard route was up 6.4% or just over 9,800 passengers. Nantucket route was down 4.8% or 2,066 passengers. Both, it's a combination of the high speed and the slow speed ferries. Total passengers for the month of April up 3.9% or 7,759 passengers. Year to date, we're up 1.9% or 11,340 passengers, and both routes are up for the year to date. Passenger vehicles carried for the month of April. The Vineyard route was up 5.3% or 1,800 passenger vehicles, with every category up, included the standard fare autos and trucks. The Nantucket route was up 1.4% or 89 vehicles, where we saw a mix of which vehicles were up and down. So for the month of April, we're up 4.7% or 1,925 passenger vehicles. Year to date, we're up 1.8% or 2,500 vehicles, where we can still see that the standard fare autos on both routes are down year to date. 125.8%. Thanks, Stephen.
You there?
We're not up 428%, as Stephen says.
The silence.
Freight trucks for the month of April, both routes combined were up 0.5% of 46 vehicles, with the Vineyard route up and the Nantucket route down. Year to date, both routes combined were up marginally or 0.5%, with the Vineyard route relatively flat, 22 vehicles over the first 4 months. And the Nantucket route's up 114 vehicles for the first 4 months. Cars parked for the month of April were up 2.2% of 238 vehicles, with both routes up percentage wise virtually the same. But year to date, we're down 2.9% or 826 vehicles, with the Vineyard taking the lead in that category, down 3.4%, while the Nantucket route is virtually flat at 0.4%. And granted, in April, the parking numbers for April are very small. That will probably go through June will be more than the first 4 months combined. So these are relatively small numbers. Trip summary for the month of April. So for the month of April, for both routes combined, we had 14 trips canceled for mechanical, 20 for weather, 6 for traffic, and 6 for crewing. And down below in the purple, you can see the current percentage of what each category is for cancellation compared to the previous year. So you can see we're doing better in most categories compared to the previous year as far as cancellations go. Financial snapshot for the month of April, operating revenues of $10,362,000. We're down $363,000 versus budget. Other income, which is grant income and interest income primarily, was up $633,000 during the month. And that's really the timing of grant, the recognition of grant revenue, which next month they anticipate being down. So putting these together, we have a total combined revenue of $12.2 million, or up $269,000 for the month of April. Operating expenses of $11,372,000 were below budget by $233,000. Income deductions were down $35,000. Putting this all together, we had a net operating income for the first time this year of $686,000 for the month, which was $538,000 above budget. But year to date, we have a net operating loss of $15,013,000, which is still below budget by just under $2.3 million. And some of that is on the operating side, which it's just timing of some of the expenses. So that number will shrink as we get closer to the end of the year. On the revenue side, we were down $363,000. Big driver in that is the rent revenue, which is the car rentals and the barging. Barging through April, put in perspective, last year at this time, we had 103 barges. This year, we've had 59 on Nantucket. So the barging activity on Nantucket compared to last year is down, quite a bit.
The airport.
Yeah.
Expansion was a big part of that.
Yep. So looking at, so year to date, we're down, $1,083,000 on our revenue. You can see the main drivers there, the automobile revenue, which is led by the standard fare autos, which we're starting to see flatten out compared to previous years, as well as the rent revenue. Those two categories are driving that total operating revenue down for the year to date. Operating expenses for the month were down $232,000 to 2%. Fuel oil, for the year to date, we're down 16.2%. On fuel oil, we budgeted $2.48 a gallon. We came in at $3.23. Total operating expenses for the year were down $2.6 million or 5.4%. And the big driver in there is the maintenance expense, and that has to do with the timing of work in the Vineyard Haven terminal. Passengers carried, for the first 3 weeks in May, we're up about 4.3% or 7,300 passengers. Year to date, we're up 2.5% or just under 19,000 passengers, with both routes being up. Vehicles carried for the first 3 weeks in May, we're up 1.3% on the Vineyard route and 10.8% on the Nantucket route. And with the Memorial Day traffic, just saw numbers of it this morning. For the Thursday through Monday for the Memorial Day traffic, we'll be down in all categories because basically Thursday was a washout. It's tough to make up for that 0 or 25% passenger capacity and vehicle capacity from the year before. If you take out the Thursday of it, the numbers were pretty comparable to the year before. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions regarding the April business summary.
Questions from the council?
Hey, Mark, one question, is it normal, is this typical that we've been able to essentially break even and by April? Is that the month that normally happens, or is that ahead of schedule, or?
Normally May, yeah, it's a little bit ahead of schedule because the budget was like roughly 100,000. So a lot of that was the timing on the grant revenue, you know, filling it in, but normally it's a month later.
Yeah, that's what I thought. It seemed a little early, but so that's not a bad.
I had to double check that myself when I saw that.
Yeah. It's the first time I can recall it ever happening.
Yeah.
That early.
You're breaking even, but you're flipping to the positive.
Yeah. But yeah, as you can see in the maintenance side, we're under budget by 2.2 million off the top of my head, and that's is the where it's at.
Yep. Roger that. Thanks.
Right. Nothing else from the council? Mark? So we are now at old and new business. Do we have any? I have.
Yeah, thank you.
No, I said I have not.
Oh, you're not. I just wanted to point out that, so at the joint meeting, we requested authorization to go ahead with the R99 fuel for the Allen home, and Mark informs me that they've already taken their first delivery or first two deliveries.
Yesterday we took the first deliveries, and we're in operation with probably, it's intermingling with our regular fuel. We look at by week's end, the vessel will be fully operated on the RD99, and we'll be going through our test trial period, and probably we're going into a period of just pre-maintenance for the start of the season with Island Home. So when she comes out, we'll get a better view of the results.
Great, good stuff.
Yep. Joe?
Yes, I have two things. First, I just wanted to commend Lee Cormier and his crew over here on the vineyard. I had a chance to go down Friday morning to take a look at the Oak Bluff stock. There was something like 17 planks that were just popped right out of the decking. And there was also a huge, large metal plank that came up from the transfer bridge along with electrical problems. And they did a pretty good job of just having that port closed just for one day. They were back reopening on Saturday morning, which was great. What's the weight limit at Oak Bluffs again for trucks?
86.
It's Allison's saying 86, but I think it's actually a little bit lower than that.
It depends.
80.
I think,
I've been told 86, 85, and 80, so.
I'll get back to you, but I think it's 80.
Yeah, 79.
Right.
The other comment I have might be for the other Mark, as I call him. What are attenuators? I was looking that up. It says it's something about stopping the flow, the rolls, the swirls coming under a dock. Is there any way that something like that could be done in Oak Bluffs to stop some of these problems that we have about damage and cancellations out of Oak Bluffs? Is
Well,
there
when we
anything like
get,
that?
when we get from a particular direction, it's very difficult because we're open. We don't have the protection of that area like we do in Vineyard Haven. I think that we would have to have some for countermeasures, you know, a key of some sort to protect from that direction. So, you know, we have not had that many nor'easters this year or the past couple of years. So for that decking to come up is not uncommon from that direction. Yes, we've been very proactive on our maintenance over the past couple of years. So, you know, our crews were very adapted, getting those planks back down and getting the transfer bridge plate back in. Kudos to the maintenance department, Zach Lawrence. And so it's just from a particular direction. There's not much we can do. We're going to be adding additional bollards as we discussed last period about, you know, the island home potential for next year. So we're doing as much as we can right now, Joe.
Okay. What are attenuators actually, if you know what I'm talking about? When I was reading about it, it looked like it might be plastic sheets or something that stop the flow action of the waves.
I've seen them in other ports where they're actually a mooring and they're offshore, and it just keeps it, apparently knocks down some of the wave or the swell. That's the intention of it. I think we would have to really look at a serious design study before doing something of that. I think it's a worthwhile look.
Okay. Thank you, Mike. But just kudos to everybody getting that opened within that period of time with the amount of damage that was done.
Thank you.
All right.
Rob's got his hand up.
Go ahead, Rob.
Yeah, hi, I'm thinking this falls under the category of old business and maybe getting older, and that is the status of the general manager's search. I am a member of the search committee. We haven't met for a long time. I guess my question is, you know, how do we accelerate the pace of the action?
Okay, well, as Janice is coming up to the table, I'll start. So I think it was a little over 2 weeks ago was the last meeting of the general manager's search committee. And I believe Janice has some information from Fast String.
Right, so Rob, I had sent out to the committee.
The last meeting was the 12th, so we're getting on a month ago.
Right, so we had requested the report from Fast Stream, which I had emailed out to the committee, so you should have that. And I know that Jim Malkin is away, so when he returns, I believe the commitment was to have a meeting about 4 weeks in. So once he returns, we'll get a meeting on the calendar.
Okay, it is now June.
Yeah.
And we really are just getting the search underway, so
I understand. That's why like I said, I sent the information out to the team. And once Jim returns or communicates when he would like to conduct that next meeting, we'll get that on the calendar.
Okay, thanks. Just wanted to point this out. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Rob. Any other new business or old business stuff? All right. On to public comment.
If anyone has public comment, you can hit the raise your hand icon. Or raise your hand literally in the room, sorry.
Miles Reese from Reconstruction. I just have a few points that I'd like to ask. And if the Robert Hour boat starts to come to and from Nantucket, you have you've just brought on 3 new boats for an excess of 80 million when you're all done. As far as the landfill, for over 25 years now, this stuff has been able to be moved off of the island through your boats. If this happens, it's gonna take a lot of the small haulers that a landscaping company, I mean, I can bring up a couple of names like Valero or Burns. They'll go with a dump trailer and bring a certain amount of stuff back for an individual, one-time shot. I think it's gonna start to hurt them. If it hurts them, it hurts your reservations. It's just a cost of you not getting the business. It always was policy that, and you brought it up, I believe, Robert, that when you couldn't meet the needs and somebody brought a barge in with trucks and machinery on it, they paid the same rate as if it went across your decks. I want to see that it's a level playing ground for me as a company, but for a lot of the small haulers also. Maybe it is an asset, I don't know. How's it gonna work with these drawbridges with union people working with a boat that I don't know if it's gonna be union or not? Is that gonna bring up a problem for you? You know, some of these questions almost sound like I'm on the port council, but my bottom line is, if this company goes in the red, and it hasn't in years, but I've been around long enough to know that it did, the towns have to pick it up. And that's part on me. So it seems like you spent a lot of money on a lot of new boats to give more service, and somehow things have been working the way they've been working. I mean, that boat, if it holds 8 trailer trucks and each trailer truck has 30 ton on it, that's 240 ton when it comes to your drawbridge. Right now, your barges are bringing in around 1,100 ton a trip. So I just think it's food for thought for you people. Thank you.
I just point out that the comment period is still open for the barging, so. I just comment that the comment period is still open, so if any of your comments or anyone else, feel free to submit them to myself at rdavis@steamshipauthority.com.
Then we got one online. Suzanne?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, a quick comment. I hadn't thought about it before, but in the discussion on the IT and the organizing the loading of the ferry, that takes another 30 minutes, which brings the time the trucks have to be at the loading dock from 5:30 back to 5, and then they try to be in the area before 5. And the other day, someone on the Woods Hole Road said they start hearing trucks around 3:30 in the morning at times. So I'd like to advance this comment in favor of moving the 5:30 forward, because all these important organizational things are having an impact on the community. Thank you.
Yeah. That's all I see.
Okay. Going once? Back to the council. Any final thoughts? All right, with that, I will go ahead and make a motion to adjourn the Tuesday, June 3rd meeting of the Steamship Port Council.
Second.
Second.
Thank you, Joe. All in favor, Rob?
VINEYARD, aye.
John?
Cahill, aye.
Joe?
Aye. Joe, aye.
Rick?
Aye.
And Gordon's an aye as well. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Nice meeting, Gordon.
Well
Thank you,
done.
Rob. You
Yeah.
asked a few
you.
quick, Thank you, Rob. You asked a few questions that I was thinking about.